Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after another great hockey game. Say what you will about this Jets 8-0 run. I mean, one blowout win against the Oilers, one blowout win against the Sharks, and then I thought it was a comfortable win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Other than that, every single one of these games is essentially coming down to the wire, with the Winnipeg Jets finding a way to be on the right side of that wire. I would say I'm almost jealous of Kenny being in the building to get to see that one. I would have been jealous had I not just popped out now, folks, of my Arctic Spas hot tub. I got the wet hair to prove it. A late little family hot tub I was able to get in between the game and dear Kenny and Renny here. But listen, my takes should be red hot here tonight, folks, because I spent some time in the Arctic spas. No cold takes to be found on this one. I'm going to have it running, folks, running, because the Spa Boy pack made it easy for me to just step in, step out, and be ready to rock the show here. So let's rock the show. Let's talk about kind of an all-time game. You folks should maybe write this one down on the calendar, make a mark of it. A day that proved that the sports gods love Winnipeg and its sports team. Start with the Bombers and that crazy play, game over basically, and all of a sudden Mother Nature literally blows the punt down back into field goal territory for the Bombers for them to win. And then the Jets game starts out with Nikolai Ehlers getting a fortuitous bounce off the skate of the defender into the back of the net, and the Dylan Samberg shot that redirects off the boards, changes the angle off the boards, and comes just perfectly off of Dustin Wolf's back into the back of the net. This was a day in which big assists go to the sports gods, who I think are high-fiving themselves up in the clouds now that the Winnipeg Jets are 8-0. Now, what did I read somewhere? I believe the Winnipeg Jets are just the 9th team. Is that correct, folks? 9th team in NHL history to win 8 straight games to start a season. That's a tenth of the season, folks. We're basically just a hair under 10% of the season that the Winnipeg Jets have locked in and locked up every single point available in that. And they do this again on this night, basically in a manner that we've seen time and again. But the one thing I am going to point out here, and I love this, you chat room, you know what? Here's the real deal. Kenny and Renny, all we do is we read the early people who show up in the chat room, and we just adopt all their ideas and pawn them off as our own. That's the secret to doing this show. Start your own podcast, get people talking in the chat room, steal their ideas. You'll sound really smart as long as you avoid the Arctic Spas cold takes. You'll be doing just fine. And here's one that I stole. Mother Max says Toronto and Colorado were smart to let Kadri go. Can't control his aggression. Cost the Flames the game, in my opinion. I'm not going to go as far as saying those two teams were smart to let him go. Colorado really hasn't been the same since they lost him, in my opinion. But this did cost the Flames the game, and it comes after Pospisil, Slewfoot's Nikolai Ehlers putting the Flames in a really tough spot. And this is just one thing I was thinking. The one thing that I go through all these Jets games that are happening, when I see the other team make mistakes, I'll think to myself, the Jets wouldn't do that. The Jets wouldn't do that. The Jets wouldn't do that. And what happens is, as the game goes on, what I can see are examples time and time again of the reason the Winnipeg Jets are winning these tight games, because their details are right. And maybe more importantly than that, their focus or their drive is right. Like I see what's happening there with Pospisil. He's coming in, he sees a chance to get a lick in on a guy, and he chooses to do it. And in that moment, it's a selfish play where he's thinking, I can take out a little frustration, just like we saw last game, folks, with the Seattle Kraken, where that penalty in overtime is just a little bit of frustration because the Jets are playing the game the right way and the other team gets frustrated. Pospisil does it, ends up in a 5-on-3 eventually, doesn't end up in the back of the net. Surprisingly, it was actually a really well played 5-on-3 by the Calgary Flames in that situation. They get out of that. And one of their ultimate leaders goes out. And I know I've been seeing a lot of conversations online about this. I've been seeing a lot of people talk. I think there was a little bit in the chat room earlier on before this, people talking about it. I went and I thought, oh man, like again, it was the Renny pristine roofing wake-up call. I looked at the beginning and I thought, they're going to call that at this time of the game, right after a 5-on-3. And again, I thought that the Jets were getting the benefit of the doubt from the refs. And then when you look at the replay, it's not that at all. You can look and see it on Kadri's face. It's a malicious slash that he throws on the hands, that he's just thinking he should be able to get away with it at that point of the game. Well, here's an idea. Do what I think the Winnipeg Jets, especially their leaders, someone like Adam Lowry, would have done in that situation. Rather than teeing off and trying to slash the guy and get a shot in because you don't think the refs are going to call it at that time of the game, why don't you just follow through and throw a hit or try to do what you can, rush the guy so that he passes it or something like that? You're not doing anything to benefit your team there. You're not putting the defender in a situation where he's going to have a harder time moving the puck. All you're doing is just giving them a whack and getting a little bit of, a good feeling out of the fact that you can take a whack at a guy there. But the Winnipeg Jets don't do this. You haven't seen the Winnipeg Jets in a tight game and then go out and indulge in, a little bit of, catharsis. Is it catharsis to go out and slash someone and get away with it? I don't know. Whatever it is, the Winnipeg Jets aren't indulging in it because the Winnipeg Jets know that that's not the direct path to winning a hockey game. That, in fact, is a direct path to losing one. And in the end, it comes down into a play where I thought Cole Perfetti did just a great job attacking where he did. It's his change of pace, if you notice. He dives in while everybody else, all 8 other players on the ice, are moving at a pace that Nino Niederreiter is kind of managing that pace as he slowly brings the puck in behind the net and then feeds it out. And you can tell the defender is almost surprised that he's there. Great shot, sneaks under the arm, back of the net. I liked a lot about Cole Perfetti's game. I've been vocal about things that I think I wanted to see from him. I saw it a couple of instances tonight in a game where I thought it was the kind of game that needed it. I think that kind of led to the attack mentality that we see on that power play. We'll get into it, and we'll get into it with the main man, or my main man. Let's just call him that. The man with the best music in the business. Time to bring in Kenny, everybody. Ken, sometimes you come rolling into this show like Deep Throat off All the President's Men, where we can barely tell who you are because your face is in the shadows where everything else is lit up. And then tonight, you come rolling in here perfectly lit. You've got that nice blue backlight in there. And of course, at this stage of the trip, you're just showing off by now, looking like $1 million, looking like a Vittorio Rossi, man, because that's exactly what you are. Kenny, I can tell at some point, headed on down to Vittorio Rossi on Corden Avenue, walked in, asked for Frankie and the boys, and they had him looking like he looks tonight, lit up. Hey, it is an affront to Frankie and his suits if you don't light it up well. So I'm glad to see you've done it here tonight. All you folks out there, you should do the same thing. Head on down, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you and ask for Frankie and the boys. They'll do you up right, like the Winnipeg Jets have been doing it upright. Ken, they are on fire. What is happening here at this stage? Another game, they allow the first goal. These are starting to look like carbon copies of each other. Jets go down early, build up a lead. Team finds its way back into it, but the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, there's something to be said about maybe giving up some leads, but there's something to be said about not panicking when you do and finding a way to come out on top once again.
Yeah, it's just a team that seems stable. Like there's not a lot of fluctuation in their game, Sean. And hey, this was an absolutely bizarro world kind of game, right? And I use that term because it was '90s night here in the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, and they were rocking the Seinfeld bloopers on the screen at times, and you know, 2 goals off the mask and in from obscene angles. You have a power play marker from Ehlers off the skate of Rasmus Anderson. You have the most bizarre of them all, a Dylan Sandberg shot that goes off the end boards up in the air. No one can find it. It hits Dustin Wolf in the back and goes in. And then you have Cole Perfetti, blasting home a sneaky quick wrister after the Jets were peppering him during the 5-on-3 and couldn't score. So interesting game all around on a lot of fronts. I don't think it was a poor game for the Jets, but I think it was a game where, Adam Lowry was quick to say, they didn't love it, but there's a lot of things they loved about it. And like you said, the ability to not get down, again, based on my mentions and some of the notes that I got after the Backlund goal, 28 seconds in, people were going wild about first the decision to start Comrie, and then they had all other, there's a lot of the sky is falling, and this is where things start to fall apart, right? And even after winning 7 in a row, right? So again, there are things the Jets need to work on, no doubt about it. But overall, their willingness to stay in structure is once again impressive, and it's the reason why they improved to 8-0. I only caught the tail end, and I love the way that Nazem Kadri plays, Sean, but that is a penalty you cannot take at that scenario in the hockey game. And some people are calling it a soft call. He clearly slashed him. That it was so obvious they had no choice but to call it.
Yeah.
So, and again, unfortunate for him in a game where he scored a really important goal for the Flames. That was a really, really tough play for him to make in that scenario. And Sean, we've watched a lot of games. Usually those are kind of the ones that are backbreakers, right? Avoidable offensive zone penalty, like that's
couldn't have been further from his own net.
Yeah,
couldn't have been further from his own net.
It's not a dangerous play. Neil Pionk is not a danger in that situation behind his own net in a tie game. So anyways, like I said, I'm not pinning it on him by any stretch. The Flames had, enough of their own breakdowns, but special teams, obviously the order of the day, Sean. Another goal for each unit. They're up to 9 power play goals, and I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 for the first unit and at least 3 for the second unit. It might be 6-3, but the second unit has done a really good job, and they don't get frustrated by the fact that they're not minute each out there or whatever else. They move it quickly. They have an attack mentality, and they cash in. I don't know if you saw, or if folks in the chat room saw it, but great quote to Cole, or by Cole to me after the game, saying that Kyle Connor buttered him up with all those one-timers, and he snuck a change up in on him. So I thought it was pretty funny. We know how serious Cole is at times, and the fact that he was, willing to kind of let his guard down a little bit and laugh about it afterward, I think is a sign of how well that he's playing and how well the team is playing in going 8-0 here.
Well, let's get into Cole Perfetti. I want to talk about him right now, because last show we were talking about, and I was saying I was on Toronto radio today, and once again I said I can tell I'm on Eastern radio right now, because Cole Perfetti left such an indelible mark in the OHL that it's like you talk to guys out there who watched him and saw him coming through the OHL, and you can tell it. Like I remember at the beginning of the season, one analyst had said, "Listen, the Winnipeg Jets aren't going to make the playoffs, but if they do, it will be because of the emergence of Cole Perfetti and this and that and all that kind of stuff." And I'm not saying that can't play a role, but like, come on, this Winnipeg Jets team, we know what they're capable of because they did it last year. It has nothing to do with Cole Perfetti throwing them on their back. I said today, Ken, on that radio, I said, I rank Perfetti in terms of importance on the Jets roster as probably their 10th or 11th most important player. And they were agog that I had suggested that, but I thought to myself, Mark Scheifele is clearly ahead of him, as would be Kyle Connor, as would be Velarde. I think Ehlers would be ahead of him. I would put Josh Morrissey ahead of him. I would put every member of the third line ahead of him. And I, of course, would put Connor Hellebuck ahead of him. That puts him 10th. And then you can get into arguments about, is Neil Pionk more important, or is Vladislav Demesnikov, the way that he plays center, more important? You know, I have him 10th. That sounds crazy, but it's just where I think that this team is at right now. You look like you have something to say.
No, it's I mean, I'm just listening intently. That's all. I think, and also too, and for
you
people
in the microphone, like you looked like you had something to say.
For people in the East, that, I mean, Cole is basically in his second full season, so there are other, again, the rankings are subjective, but he is going to grow into a player that rises up that list quite significantly. But that's around the place where he is right now, right? I mean, that's not a shot at Cole Perfetti. He's playing an incredibly important role for them. He is moving from a complementary player to a primary scorer, but he's in the process of doing that.
So I had said on that show what I'd said here is that what I see from Cole Perfetti so far is something that we know he's capable of doing, and we've seen it from him in the past. He's really adept at, if it's a softer kind of game, at carving his opposition from distance. It's what used to kind of like earn the moniker snake charmer offense from me when it came to Winnipeg Jets first line. They were really adept at it. It disappeared towards the end of the year. So I wanted to kind of see him take on a different kind of, like, do that, continue doing that, and take that offense when it's there, but go try and find other offense. And I don't know if you saw it, Ken, but there was a play very specifically right near the end of the second period where he kamikazes his way to the front of the net. Now, he doesn't score, but he gives himself a really great opportunity to, and he's grinding his way to the front of the net. That was it right there. I was like, okay, this is what I want to see. I don't mind you slicing and dicing from distance, but also mix it up and do the other thing. Get to the front of the net, tip some pucks, fight for some pucks, lift some sticks, get the puck back, grab some rebounds, all those kind of things. And to me, what it is it's an attack type mindset, right? I saw that from him tonight against a team that I think, A, it took a couple good bounces to beat, but B, you had to have that attack kind of mindset if you were going to get in and score on that team here tonight. That's what I saw from him, and that's what I saw in that, like, I just think sometimes there's a psychological angle to this, right? Like, I don't know, I can't properly explain it, but if you start doing things that activate the part of your brain that is like, boom, I'm going to do that, well, then I see a correlation between him playing like that throughout the game and then the way that he just so aggressively gets to a spot rather than waiting for the typical pass off the boards that Nino Niederreiter could have done in that moment, and he could have easily got that pass off the boards and skated in and shot. Instead, he goes and attacks, gets into a spot that surprises the defender when he looks and sees where he is, and boom, it's in the back of the net. More of that, I think, if you get from Cole Perfetti, and to me, then he's climbing the list. Like, he's got the potential by the end of the year, I think, to get to like number 8, number 7 in terms of importance on this team, which is saying a lot when you've got the best goalie in the game, one of the top 5 defensemen in the game, and then a handful, one of the greatest scorers in the game in Kyle Connor, and then your number 1 center in Mark Scheifele. I mean, that's 4 spots. Like, 5 is probably the best you should be able to do on this team. But he keeps doing that. He starts, in my mind, getting to be undeniable. I know all the fans want to, he's the young prince. They want to anoint him. They want to put the crown on his head and say, he's arrived. Look at the amount of points he has. Oh, he had a 4-point night, all that kind of stuff. I need to see certain stuff, and part of that is consistency from him. But I saw it tonight. I want to see more of it. I want to see it continue on, and I want to see it become who Cole Perfetti is as a hockey player.
Yeah, no doubt. It's an impressive, start. But I mean, Cole had, I think, I was just looking today in our mailbag for tomorrow. He had 19 points in 23 games last year, so he was operating at close to a point per game rate as it stood for a while there. So, it was just
Are you talking last season?
Yeah, last season. So
yeah,
you need to sustain it into the second quarter here.
Well, did we have this conversation on the podcast? I had said, okay, it's all fine and dandy to say, well, there was a large segment of the season last year that Cole Perfetti was a point per game player, right? And people are again anointing him, put the crown on his head, King, you've arrived, right? But if you're going to play that game, you can just as easily say he was the guy who went to sleep for how long was it, Ken?
23, he went through 3 assists in 21 games, I believe.
Right.
It was.
So if you're gonna tell me there's a swath of time that he was a point per game player, and that means he's a point per game player, then it's as easy to say that he had 3 points in 21 games, and that's who he is. It's a mixture of both, clearly. But I like what I'm seeing with him, and I most definitely think he's at this stage. Like, I'm full believer he's got the Pristine Roofing wake up call, and he's wide awake right now. And the reason they win this game, and you know what that means? Time to give North End Rick the Pristine Roofing wake up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy who will come down to your house and give you a quote, let you know what you need as far as roofing, siding, and exteriors is concerned. Of course, you can always call Pristine Roofing at 204-237-7663. Get them on down to your place. I'm trying to release some info here, Ken. I don't have the clearance to do it, but Pristine Roofing just did a very interesting VIP roof. I want to share it. I can't, but if I get the green light, I'll be all over it. It's very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. You touched on it. Power play, Ken. Where are we at with that?
Sorry, Kenny's water bottle. This is just I don't agree with Kenny's water bottle here, but
and yet you brought it into the show. Very interesting.
His retort is Renny is the fourth most important part of the show. First is Kenny's, second is Kenny's microphone, and third is Kenny's intro music. But just like Perfetti, if Renny keeps it up, he might sneak up to third. I think he's going higher on that list.
Ken
is
and
my
I
personal
have
view. And also nice shirt. Sorry, it's taken me 22 minutes, but a really nice shirt that you're wearing.
I'm here trying to butter you up. Yeah, I'm here trying to butter you up, trying to bring in your catchphrase into the show, and you're bringing like the worst trashings of Renny into the show. So that's great. It's great. I see how this relationship works.
Buddy,
anyone else out there been in an abusive relationship before? Can you give me some advice on how to handle this, people?
Our chat room. Our chat room is they're playing along. That doesn't mean they necessarily believe it. That's all.
No doubt. Hey, you know what? Just while there's a little break, it's been called. Oh, I missed it. I pressed the wrong one. It had been called for. There is a call for the headband in here. I can't seem to find it right now, but I promise you it was there. So you know what that means, folks. Time to make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. I believe it was Tishu. Well, Tishu definitely called for it earlier on. I got to say, I'm pretty confident by the comments Tishu makes, and since we're like beating up on Renny here, by the comments he makes, the headband is definitely Tishu's favorite part of Renny on this show, and I don't think anything else is close. Not even his hockey analysis, but Ken, I don't know if you're noticing, I got the hot tub hair going on because I was Arctic spawning it right before I came into
Well
the show.
done.
Bragging to the audience about it. Anyway, we want to move on here.
Are we
Let's
going
dig a little
there or
bit
no? Are you-
deeper. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the power play.
Oh, sure. Sorry. First one is, kind of a fluke, obviously. Ehlers of banking, but I love, again, this is, so we talk about this often. I know 5-on-3, when you don't cash in, generally it comes back to bite you, but the Jets also killed off a 5-on-3 at the other end. It wasn't as extended as their own, which was 90 seconds. But this was a difference. This wasn't the old Jets, stationary, move, slow passes. It was a shooting gallery for Dustin Wolf, and he had to make a couple of massive saves. And Cole Perfetti even said it. They took the momentum coming out of that power play, even though they didn't score, and put it into their 5-on-5 game, and then ended up getting another chance that they cashed in on. So I still like the movement a lot. I think they're getting the puck around. Gabriel Velarde had a couple of in tight plays where I thought he was going to be able to sneak one past, and he wasn't. I like their ability to get shots through. There was quite a bit of motion again on that 5-on-3. Some really good scoring chances, but ultimately they don't cash in there. But it's another night where they scored twice on the power play, Sean, and then get one shorthanded, which I want to get into a little bit later on. But I mean, the ability to have two units going right now for the Jets is so important because you need that. You need the second unit to be chipping in. It also helps keep the top unit sharp, because if they're not sharp, then the other unit's getting tossed over the boards to push them, right? And that's what you want. We've talked about healthy competition all year long with these guys. There's competition everywhere.
I just think that there's like a little bit of a different approach from those two power plays,
you
right?
bet.
Like the one approach by the Jets' first power plays to compress the opposition, right? Like they're trying to squeeze them as close as they can down, and it seems like the other focus is to kind of like spread them out, right? Like to slowly bring things around the outside and to kind of try and get the opposition to chase them out there. The Jets don't. The Jets' number one power play doesn't want to be chased around. They want you to sit back, and then they just want to move the puck. Josh Morrissey over to Scheifele over to Kyle Connor down to Nikolai Ehlers across the crease, kind of that way. But it sure seems to me that the effort by the second line power play is a little bit different. More the idea of trying to get you to chase them, trying to get you to get out of. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because there's a philosophy involved in defending the first line power play. And quite often, if you are successful at that philosophy, you are locked in the mindset of how you handle that first power play. And then all of a sudden, if the second power play gets on, everything changes, because it's the opposite philosophy that they have, where they're actually trying to invite you to come out and chase them out there. And so I think what happens is, as soon as I see that power play change, what I see the second line do a really good job of, and this to me is where you got to give Davis Payne credit, is what I see when the second power play unit gets out there is I see this moment of struggle where all of a sudden it's like the teacher is talking to you and then has switched languages and is talking in a different language. All of a sudden it seems like the penalty kill facing the Winnipeg Jets is kind of not understanding what's going on. And that's what I saw tonight, a bit of a different philosophy that Calgary could not keep up with. And in a game where that first unit had its opportunities to, again, Nikolai Ehlers does score, a little bit of a fortuitous bounce, but this is a night where not scoring on that 5-on-3 almost gave you the feeling that, well, they got lucky and then they failed to capitalize. If Nazem Kadri doesn't take that stupid penalty and Calgary finds a way to either A, win it in overtime, or B, maybe score one late and the Jets lose that game, Ken, we're talking right now about, well, the Winnipeg Jets lost their win streak, and probably the biggest culprit would be the fact that they didn't cash in on that 5-on-3. That's what we would be saying, right? So for this to turn in this way, and we be able to talk about not only the first line not being able to cash in, but the second line doing it, but also that 2 goals on this night come from the power play unit, is just another one of the many reasons that the Jets stack up over and over and over again to be undefeated right now. The Jets are just doing so many good things. They're doing so many right things. Their details are so right. They're adding it up, and they're not making the kind of mistakes we saw from the Calgary Flames tonight. And again, them winning 8 in a row, it's not fluky. Has a lot of bad puck luck gone their way? No, I don't think that the Jets have been, the Jets have been somewhat fortuitous, or at least fortuitous in the idea that things haven't like blown up on them, or a ref hasn't gotten in the way of a puck or redirected it or something like that, which happens over the course of an 82 game season. But the Winnipeg Jets have earned this 8-0 start, because what I see night after night after night is they stack up more right things than the other team that they're playing against. And it is just, one thing after another, doing the right thing that's creating a mountain that other teams have not been able to scale.
And just last thing on the power play, the zone entries, Sean, it's night and day. Like, they have so many options, and their movement through the neutral zone has been really important for them. And that's something that the Jets have really worked on. We saw it throughout training camp. It's not just one guy trying to take on 4. There's great movement in the neutral zone. They're finding the soft places in the neutral zone in order to get pucks in along the walls, and then they're getting into structure and then making it difficult on their opponents. So that's something that's been impressive on my end. And also again, we've talked a lot about the interchanges and everything else, but the entries are such a critical part to the power play as well.
No doubt. Hey, B. Henderson says, if the Jets lose this game, we would be talking about getting a better backup for Helly. We need to talk about Eric Comrie and those 2 goals that he allowed from low angle shots here tonight. But first, I want you to give Sweet Lou a shout out before we do.
Yeah, right on. For folks who have realty needs they like to have met, they should contact Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU at LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of this community, including our podcast. And a quick one, Sweet Lou's alma mater, the Manitoba Bisons. Big win today to clinch top spot in Canada West. We know it was a busy sports day for all the folks in Manitoba, but along with the Bombers winning and clinching first and the Jets going to 8-0, Manitoba Bisons first in Canada West.
What a sports day for Winnipeg. It feels like over the last 5 years or so, especially since the Bombers kind of came back, there have been, this is to a degree the golden era of Winnipeg sports. Wouldn't you think? I know the Jets haven't really gone deep or done any of those kind of things, but there's been a lot of impressive stuff that the Jets have done over the years. And then with the Bombers doing what they've done, I definitely think it is the golden era of Winnipeg Blue Bomber football. So you add that, and you add the fact that you've got the Jets who do these kind of things, right? Finish 4th in the league last year, go on an 8-game winning streak. There is Jets fans of this era, sometime down the road, the Bombers aren't going to be a very good team, and the Winnipeg Jets are going to be missing the playoffs and probably doing it for a couple of years. If you're a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, hey, I'm going to liken it to me being a Cowboys fan in the early 90s. I thought being a Cowboys fan was the greatest thing in the world when I was a teenager in high school throughout the 90s. It was just the best thing going. And ever since then, being a Cowboy fan has been absolutely miserable. I'm thinking that there will be a time that kids who are around teenagers right now will think of this era of time pre-COVID, after COVID, let's just start and say around 2018, that boy, oh boy, we didn't, we won some Grey Cups. We didn't really, get all the success we were looking for, but people loved the Jets in the 80s in that era. And there wasn't a lot of playoff success there, but they were such a good team. We knew how good they were. They basically had the misfortune of being in a division with the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. But I think people will look back on this time and they will most definitely think that was a time. That was a time to be a Winnipeg Jets sports fan.
Yeah, no doubt. It's and again, there's going to be another fun day coming up, right? November 9th. Dallas Stars versus Jets, 1 p.m. And that's the day of the West Final, I think, is it not? 2
Yes,
Saturdays
yeah,
from now?
for sure. Now, Ken, I was going somewhere and I got caught on a tangent. What were we talking? We were talking
Oh, we're
about.
going to go to Comrie now.
Yes, we were going to go to Comrie. I don't know how I lost the transition there, but we should get to it. Comrie is in a situation where I was talking about the Calgary Flames. I think they lose this game on the details. I was talking about Pospisil's penalty, stupid penalty to take.
Oh,
The fact that they survive that and then they come out of it, Nazem Kadri takes another stupid penalty. It's like, really, like, did you want to hand that game away? But I do like the way they played that game. I like what I'm seeing from the Calgary Flames so far this year. And one of the things that I've noticed is those 2 goals that go in on Camry or on Comrie, those are astute plays. Like, I know people want to say, hey, the Calgary Flames got 2 lucky goals tonight and the Winnipeg Jets got 2 lucky goals. That's not the way it goes here. Nick Ehlers wasn't trying to bank it off the skate and in, and Dylan Sandberg wasn't trying to put it off the backboards and in. Those 2 shots by the Calgary Flames, they did exactly what they were trying to do in that situation. Now, there was a really key game in the West Final last year. Dallas Stars were playing the Edmonton Oilers, and I can't remember which player it is. Maybe it was
Ogle?
Robertson. It was Robertson.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And what their goaltending coach had noticed was that when Stuart Skinner went down, he would create this open triangle in the way that he bent his pad, and he taught his players that if you're down low along that line, shoot for that triangle, and there's a chance it'll go in. Clearly, the Calgary Flames either picked up on it or were given a scouting report on Comrie that if they were low on that line, there's an ability, because he's not as tall as Connor Hellebuck when he's gone down on his knees, and they were ricocheting it off his helmet and in. Now, I want to say this. He gets caught on the same play twice in this game, Ken. It looks bad. People are really frustrated about it. I had a bunch of texts from people panicking and saying, oh my God, we're in such trouble here because the Jets don't have a backup goaltender. He should have corrected it. I think he'd probably be the first one to tell you that. He's probably got to spend some time with Wade Flaherty to correct that, to make sure that's not happening going forward. Outside of that, I don't think that he had that bad of a game, and I know the exact time stamp that I will give you my keg save of the game, where I thought he had a really, really big one that kept this game from being 4-4 rather than 5-3 with the empty netter.
Yeah, right on it. Just quickly here, I mean, I got the same kind of messages rolling in. Comrie can't be the backup. Like, did people forget that he had 39 saves in his first start? And did they forget that the guy who ended up being the best backup in the NHL last year, a lot of people in the chat room were saying the exact same things about Laurent Brossoit last year when he had a couple of shaky outings out of the gate? So let the guy breathe a little bit. It's 2 starts out of 8 games. His first one was excellent. And today, I agree with you, Sean. I liked a lot of what I saw in terms of the calmness for Eric Comrie. He didn't get fidgety in the net after giving up the goal. I mean, there still is an element. I know you're not saying that there isn't, but again, maybe I'm not sure it's as sure, or I'm not as sure it was a scouting report thing. I mean, unless I'm not seeing something that happened in Buffalo maybe last year, there wasn't enough video. But I mean, I'm not a huge fan of reverse VH. We talked about this before, and I know that some goalies love it and can get away with it. And I actually don't think the second one is as bad. To me, Eric actually changed his head position from the first one to the second. That's why it was so weird that Anderson actually banked it in off his head. The first one I thought almost hit Comrie in the shoulder rather than off the mask, but I know it hit the mask also. But anyways, Comrie didn't come unraveled. Most goalies playing for the first time in, a couple weeks or whatever, they give up a goal like that, and you can almost guarantee it's a 5 spot, right? So for him to remain stable, that's a good effort for him. I mean, is he going to have to do better than give up 3 goals a night, which he has in the first 2 games? Volume of shots way down compared to the first outing? Yes, but his best season with the Jets was 253 goals against, 920 save percentage. I mean, Eric, things didn't go great for Eric in Buffalo with the Sabres, but the Jets believe in him. Wade Flaherty believes in him. That's why he was signed. That's why he won the competition with Capo Kakinen. And again, this competition is ongoing for Comrie, but he's in a position where the Jets trust him, and they're not going to just panic over a goal or two that go off of his mask. He's going to get the runway. And as Scott O'Neill said to me after the game, and Sean, I'm kind of ticked off at myself because you and I talked about this 2 weeks ago when we talked about the schedule and how we had kind of looked at Calgary as a game that you probably would have to circle on the calendar for Comrie, because if you don't get through October with 2 starts, it's going to be hard to get to 20 or 22. And then I didn't trust my instincts on this when we were talking about it yesterday or after the game the other night, after we were 1 for 1 predicting his first start. We whiffed on this one, I guess, or I whiffed anyways. Anyways, I think Comrie is going to be fine. It's funny. He's got such an upbeat demeanor. I was talking to him about a couple of other things yesterday in the room, and he's like, "Oh, did you notice I had a great practice? I had a great practice today." And like, this is a guy who's just going as hard as he can in practice because he knows he has to do it there, because he's not going to get as many reps as most goalies. So I'm impressed by the work he's put in. This guy has a very calm demeanor. He trusts in his own judgment and ability, and he didn't get rattled after, in a situation where, I would even say this: Eric Comrie in his first or second year in the league, he might not have reacted the same way after that happened, but put it behind him, stabilized, and had a solid game overall. Can he be a little bit better? Of course. And he's always going to be striving to be better, but there's no panic in terms of needing a different backup goalie. But Sean, in just a strange twist of fate this weekend, Capo Kakinen started his first game of the year yesterday in this building for the Colorado Eagles against the Calgary Wranglers. Made 30 saves himself in a 3-2 loss. He's on an AHL conditioning stint, so folks freaking out in terms of Colorado sending him down. He's going to have to be recalled within the 2 weeks or be exposed to waivers. And then the Jets would have the ability to put in a claim, and if they are the only team that puts in a claim, then they could send him to the Moose if that's what they so choose. But anyways, it was just an interesting sort of twist of fate where one night Kakinen starts, the next night Comrie starts for 2 different organizations this time.
You may have noticed this, Ken, but I've earned a little bit of a reputation over the years of doing this show as a bit of a doomsayer, or at least some people will say that about
not
me.
This year, Sean.
And no, not this year, not really last year. And I do contend all the people who used to get upset with me when the Jets would win, and people would say, Sean hates it when the Jets win and he's not happy, and all these kind of things. I put my record and I say, go back and watch shows from 3 or 4 years ago and see the things we talk about, and tell me on those nights that when the Jets were winning games and they were doing it in what I thought were dishonest ways, tell me how that worked out, and tell me if I wasn't right in the end in how things turned out like that. But it's my way of saying we talk about this now. We don't have a lot to really get that upset about with the Jets because we've really liked the game that they've developed over the last number of years. There's all these people out here who are like getting like so upset with like, oh, Comrie, I mean, geez, he let in these goals and it looked bad in a game where, he's winning and he's won twice now. And his job as the backup is to win as many games as possible and to find a way to do that. Like, Comrie's job is to be a not overly expensive, rarely used option for a goaltender that wants to play 60 or 70 or as many games as he possibly can. I know I had someone earlier on say, something about Comrie and text it to me. And I was like, I thought they were overreacting a little bit. Yep. And they said, well, I just want to see a version of Connor Hellebuyck who doesn't go into the playoffs tired after playing however many games in the year. And I was like, well, whoa, these are 2 different things. If you really think that the Jets didn't play, are going to overplay Connor Hellebuyck this year because they don't trust Eric Comrie, like that wasn't the case last year with Laurent Brossoit. Laurent Brossoit had all the trust in the world of this team.
Yep. And barely played down the stretch.
And barely played. Connor Hellebuyck plays the amount of games he wants to because Connor Hellebuyck tells everyone around him how many games he's going to play. Okay. Connor Hellebuck would not be accepting of spending playing only like 55 games in a year or something like that. So that idea of like trying to bring in a goaltender and being like, Comrie is a problem because it means we have to overplay Hellebuck. No one's overplaying Hellebuck. Hellebuck, if anyone's overplaying Hellebuck is overplaying Hellebuck because he wants it all the time. Comrie was brought in for one thing simply. He's a cheap goaltending option who they think can get in and can help them win games, not a ton of games, but a number of games in an absence of Connor Hellebuck from the crease. That shouldn't happen very often. Now, is it problematic? You have to think of this differently. If the Winnipeg Jets or if Connor Hellebuck gets injured, knock on wood, of course you have to, but the Jets make this bet with the expectation that all Connor Hellebuck has ever showed you throughout his career is that he's extremely durable and that he's not injury prone. So it is an area where the Jets can save on salary and get a guy that doesn't need to carry that much weight, but only needs to carry a certain amount. David Riddick worked with the Winnipeg Jets because David Riddick, all he needed to do was win games. When he started losing them down the stretch, it was a little bit problematic, but pump the brakes out there. Comrie has won 2 games, 2 goals tonight. Didn't look pretty. They didn't look pretty because they went in the same way. And yet I take a look at him and I'm going to just go to it right now. 1:48 left on the clock. The Flames are buzzing, and Mackenzie Weegar gets a shot from the point. And not even from the point. He gets to step in on this. You'll notice that the shot he gets is a pass that one of his teammates fans on the puck. He tries to one-time it, and he fans on the puck. As a goalie, you have to commit to that shot with the expectation that that guy is going to get that shot, and it will be a shot. Okay, so there's chaos element number 1. A guy takes a one-timer and misses the one-timer. Then he crosses Comrie's eyesight, and then 2 Jets defenders cross Comrie's eyesight. Mackenzie Weegar gets the puck. This is a guy who's deadly and knows right where to put it to score, and that's where he puts it. It's that old, what do you call it, the 8-inch shot or the 10-inch shot, Ken? That is right over the goalie's pad, but right underneath the glove. An extremely hard shot to stop, and that thing is going off the post and in, except it doesn't. Because Eric Comrie finds that puck, gets his glove on it, makes the save look easy. And because it looks easy, everyone else is thinking that it's easy, and they just want to look at the goalie and be like, he let in 2 low-angle shots. This guy's terrible. We need to panic. Get a new goaltender out here. Eric Comrie did his job tonight. It's not 4-4 going into overtime. Because he makes that save. He made a number of other ones. I've got no problems with Eric Comrie. He's doing his job, which is to be a backup goaltender, a guy who goes in and wins games. He's doing his job, and he's doing it with aplomb.
Right, and his job is to keep his team in games and give them a chance to win, and they've gone out and done that in the 2 starts he's had. I think we're pretty sure that we're going to be able to predict his 3rd one. I think the next start is coming next Friday against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we'll get that one in the
just
in the
before we
kitty
go here. Just before we go too far, I triggered the keg save of the game because that was my keg
Oh,
save of the
right.
game.
Sorry,
Give me
okay.
yours.
Oh no, I love that one, but I'm going to go. I actually thought because of the tough start, I thought his save off Connor Zary in the first period with 5 minutes left is my choice. Even though I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just giving a honorable mention.
No, for sure.
Honorable
And
mention.
here, but before, sorry, just bring that down for a second, Ken.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
one thing I'll say about this as well is Dustin Wolf has a
tons.
great game there, right? And so
Yep.
you've got Comrie who's going out here, and he's going up against a guy who's like having his NHL moment. Coming out, has a great game. He's making waves in that market. This has been the goaltender that has been in the AHL, dominating the AHL for years. They've been waiting for his arrival. Eric Comrie went toe-to-toe with him tonight. Right? Like their shot volume is very similar. Yep. Each team carries swaths of the game. So, like, put it this way, Ken, if this was Connor Hellebuck in net and he'd allowed those 2 goals, and we would be sitting here talking and saying, sure, he let those in, but he made the right saves at the right time, and he outdueled the other goaltender on the other end of the ice. So to me, I'm going to take and assign what everyone here would have been saying about Connor Hellebuyck, and I'm going to assign it to Eric Comrie on this night. That's what I think is the hashtag, the keg save of the game. Doesn't matter, though, what I think or what Ken thinks. Matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag, the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate brought to you by or usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. And Ken, I got to tell you, the keg save of the game winner from the comments on the YouTube video afterwards, that would be Leslie Michnick. Leslie Michnick, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name, send me your email. I'll have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. Ken?
Yes.
I
gotta get the lamp.
Should we just launch and get into the lamplighter as well? Let's do it, and then we can kind of freeform the end of the show. What's your lamplighter on the night?
We're good, Comrie. Well, yeah, my lamplighter is the Kyle Connor goal. It's absolutely filthy, in a good way. Kyle Connor, it looked like if the puck had popped a foot further earlier in the same penalty kill, he would have had a breakaway. But the puck kind of got to him, but it turned it made him go the outside. But at the end of a long shift, he gets out on a 2-on-1 with Adam Lowry. Blake Coleman makes an incredible back check, except that he forgot to take his stick because Kyle Connor fought through it. Adam Lowry gets the pass through. It's on his tape for, as Cole Perfetti pointed out to me afterward, a millisecond, and then it's bar down. Like, he got chased down the ice, fought through the check, got a pass, went roof daddy, and gave himself an 8-game point streak. I thought that Kyle Connor, his ability, again, lots of people talking with angst about the top line. If the Jets are making a change on the top line, it's got nothing to do with Kyle Connor, and it certainly has nothing to do with the way his play is happening in the defensive zone. And that's a credit to Kyle Connor. Also credit to Kyle Connor for being added to the penalty kill and doing a nice job. It's not like he's going to get 8 shorties this year, but he's dangerous on the penalty kill, and that was another example why I think Kyle Connor's playing exceptional hockey. I know I said during the preseason predictions that I thought he could get 50, and with 8 in the first 8 games, again, he's got a long way to go, but he is scoring at an exceptional level. But he has not been a one-trick pony this year. He's playing very well overall, and that's my lamplighter. Sorry, that's a long-winded way of saying Kyle Connor shorty. Great pass by Lowry, and just exceptional finish. And I just want to say this. We talk so often about how Connor Hellebuyck makes the excellent save look routine. Like, Kyle Connor almost didn't even react. The puck is on his stick. He roofs it. He skates to the bench. Like, that was just a ridiculous goal in terms of his ability to get that puck on his stick and into the net as quickly as he did. Like, we saw, kind of trademark goal the other day when he goes bar down with no room on Binnington in St. Louis. That goal today is ridiculous. A ridiculous goal by a ridiculously talented sniper.
Is he scoring 50 this year, Ken?
I'm going to stick with my original 50 discussion. Yes. And yeah. I will be happy to take all of the heat. Will people be blaming me if he doesn't do it? But I think he does it, honestly.
There you go. I'll say this, like Bar Laitman says, why was Coleman so pissed off? What was his beef? What was he so upset about?
I'm not sure. He was holding Kyle's stick. So
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. It was ridiculous.
But here, I'll give credit to this. Kyle Connor is not the biggest guy. Blake Coleman is, going back to his years with the Tampa Bay Lightning, was one of the best defensive players in the game, a real eraser out there. The way that I think maybe he thought that, I don't know, was he trying to say that Connor may have given him an elbow as he was coming back, because Connor sticks his elbow out, and I know why he does it. He does it to keep him further back, and he leans back, right? Great play. Fights. He's taking a player who, I don't know, you would think is maybe a stronger player, and he basically fights him off and keeps him in a spot where he cannot get to where the puck is going to be passed, and it's in the back of that. I think it's great, but I don't think it's the lamplighter. For me, it's the Cole Perfetti goal. Again, loving what I'm seeing from Cole Perfetti. It's the game winner. I just love the body language that I see from him is maybe another way of me saying this before is I feel like he's been getting passive points. Do you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
he cuts away to the outside and he throws the puck into different spots. It feels like he's getting passive points. That felt really direct to me. That felt like Cole Perfetti was like, you know what? I'm going to go win this game right now. And that's exactly what he did. So that's why I'm giving Cole Perfetti the lamplighter of the game. It doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter what Ken thinks. Matters what you think. Share with us your TCB lamplighter. You're automatically entered to win one of these, a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale, brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. $2 off right now, just $16.44 until the end of October. You'll get a free roll of stick tape with it as well if you head on down there. And that's what you should do. I was there yesterday with the wife and my daughter, had some great pizza, had some of that blueberry. You know, I love that stuff. I was at 11290 Kenniston Avenue. It was a great decision. You should make that same great decision. Head on down there, folks. You will enjoy it. And that means it is time to announce our winner. And our winner of the TCB lamplighter, that would be Dane G, who messaged me away from that. Let's try and keep those messages. If everyone sends me their own personal lamplighter or keg, then I've got like 17 messages to go through. Or you can put them in the show, and if you're not here in the show, you can leave them in the comments after. I'll keep handling them, but make it easier on Renny. That would be a nice thing to do. Anyways, Dane, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me your email. I will send you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale, brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. Johnston Group.
Yeah, we are in solid agreement on this one. And Josh Morrissey's breakup of the 2-on-1 late in the third is absolutely 100% that we've got you covered. Play of the game. Oh, you've got a different one. Never mind.
No, there's another like just unbelievable play.
Oh, sorry.
By him.
Yeah, exceptional.
Yeah. Sorry, Donnie Boy says only chat comments should win. Donnie, some people can't, like, our last show was on until like 2:00 in the morning. Some people view it afterwards, and if you're not watching live, you don't get the opportunity to. So we're trying to include everybody in here regardless. I agree with you, Ken. That breakup was phenomenal. It was so well done, and I think was going to be a goal going the other way. So to me, that's a game saving. We've got you covered. Great play. Absolutely nailed it. And that for us, the both of us, is the Johnston Group got you covered play of the game. And hey, do you run a small business in Canada? You can look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And Ken, anything you want to say before we walk out?
What else do we have? Again, no.
You're almost on your way home. I just want to say the Winnipeg Jets stick-to-itiveness, I think, is, what is it? It's 6 of their 8 games they were scored on first. Their ability to stick with games and not kind of get lost in like not playing the right way, it's really paid off. And hey, if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambridge Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to cambrian.mb.ca to book an appointment online. All right, next, folks, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Someone had said it here. I think it was T. Will. I think most people hate the Leafs who are Jets fans, and I think it would absolutely kill them to see the Jets winning streak ended by that team. That would be something else, but that's going to be a prime hockey game. It's going to be a national game. And then on Wednesday, Ken, are you going to be down in Detroit?
No, Mike's got this next road trip. Unfortunately, I will not be joining you in Detroit this time.
Yeah, well, that's Wednesday night hockey. Going to be down there for that one. That'll be an interesting one. Always an interesting one. This will be my first time ever in the city of Detroit.
Okay,
I think this is the last NHL building that I need to be in.
Bingo.
I've been in every single. We'll do
full
Utah
bingo
later on.
Utah Lake, yes.
I'll get the full. I'm trying to work every single building, and to be honest with you, that this may be one of the last ones that I haven't. This may be the last one I haven't worked either, but it's going to be
an incredible building. I'm going to tell you right now.
Sorry, I've been told it's number one.
Unreal. You're going to love it.
Well, anyways, it's going to be an interesting one to see the Winnipeg Jets in there. I always think it's interesting just because, it's Hockey Town Original Six, but just the Kyle Connor element, the Connor Hellebuck element. Always interesting to see those players and how they react when they're at home. It means a lot to them. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, because a big game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who came back, sent it to overtime against the Bruins. The one thing I'll always say is there's always fireworks, it seems, between the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Outside of like the Minnesota Wild, I honestly don't know that there's a more heated rival that they have. Like, of course, Toronto would have different ones, but is there a team that gets the juices flowing for the Jets better than the Toronto Maple Leafs? I don't know that there is. Regardless,
Nashville would be the only other one that I would say is in the running. Just maybe because of the volume of games is higher, and they had the crazy 7-game series. But
yeah, good point. I just don't for a team that happened against. I don't know that I see that level of animosity between them. There could be, but I just don't know that I see it there. Whereas with the Leafs, there seems to be this unexplained bit of it. Anyways, it's going to be good to see it. Can't wait to see you all there. Before I do go, I'll say what I always say. If you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, please appreciate the contributions by our sponsors who keep the conversation going in this space. And of course, that's Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, Cambrian Credit Union, Sweet Lou Furlan, Arctic Spas, the Johnston Group, TCB, and of course, the Keg. Thank you to all of them, and thank you to all of you. Kenny, you rocked it. It's going to be good to see you home. We'll see you on Monday. The rest of you, hope to see you right here on Monday as well. Bye-bye.